Hello and welcome, this is EagleEye621, and today we are back in my duping world in the latest 1.17 snapshot for Java, that is 20W48A. I'm going to show you two different ways to duplicate the dripstone, which is looking like it's going to be a very useful block. Now, one of these will almost certainly be patched by the full release, and one of them will very likely not be. But as always, be sure to check the title for the current level that it will work in. As I show you these, if you wouldn't mind taking a look to make sure you are still subscribed and ring that bell to make sure you don't miss out on any of these videos. Now, here's the first one, and it is absolutely broken, which is why they're going to change things. And what you're going to need is actually not a lot. These are all mostly helper blocks. You're going to want about a stack of the dripstone and just a couple of blocks. And I like scaffolding really more just to help count. So the way that this is going to work is you want to go up in the air, and I'm going to go into survival mode just to place these fast and do the counting automatically. And the trick here is that a dripstone that measures over 50 blocks is actually update suppressed, which means you can get a floating tip. There are a couple of other ways to do that, but this is going to be probably the most simple and straightforward. So let's go all the way to the top up here and place a supporting block that we can put our dripstone on. And then we're going to put these all the way down to the bottom. And we're going to pass well more than 50, but we can set up more than one of these in case you really want to just go absolutely nuts with this. In terms of speed, each floating dripstone is going to generate you 72,000 per hour. So use that info for what you will. Now you'll notice that when we break this off, and I can show you over here, we put a dripstone, just a couple, not 50. When you break this off, it all falls to the ground. But when you break it off when it's longer than that, you'll notice that nothing happened. So what we're going to want to do is come down a little bit. So we want to have room for one extra, and then room for our block, and then just break this one so you can do as many layers as you want. So one extra, room for a block, and then break this one as well so we can put this here. And then you can continue going on down the line. You don't want to hit this in case you update them, and at some point you are going to hit where you don't have enough, and you can see now all of it is crashing to the ground. So we went high enough to make a couple. We can destroy this scaffolding just so it doesn't get in the way. And this works as simply as placing this right here, just like that. And you can see that we have some serious messiness going on. And if we stand here and collect them all, as I said, you're generating one per tick in this method, which is why it's 72,000 per hour. And you can now double that and triple that. And it makes a heck of a mess. The rest of these blocks are to try and just contain all of the dripstone that is flying everywhere. And then in order to stop this from duplicating, if we remove this block underneath right here, let's put one there so we can put it back, you'll see that that stops. And of course that will be the same for all of these. So if you want to automate it, you can attach this to a sticky piston to push it back in, but ultimately you need to come and place a dripstone underneath like this. So there really is no automation in this, but at 72,000 per hour per floating dripstone tip, you don't really need all that much automation, and your collection system is going to be completely overwhelmed by anything. A hopper can do 9,000 per hour. You need 8 individual hoppers pointing into chests from some sort of a water stream for each one of these things. And you do have an issue with a lot of the stuff getting stuck on top. So you are going to be stuck manually collecting these all. But you can get a tremendous amount of dripstone, and most of that fell onto the ground. And you can see we're going to lag out our world real fast if you don't collect these or have some sort of a containment system to deal with them. Let's leave that behind and talk about a different way to dupe them, which will almost certainly not be patched, and that is our falling entity dupe. So here's just a little teleport block. Nothing special. It would take me to the end portal. And you may recognize this from a couple of the other dupes that we've done from the gravity blocks, such as sand and anvils and dragon eggs and those kind of things. So what you're going to need is in this chest right here, but let me also just talk about the height. I'm going to grab this. And you can see that we have come up exactly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is the 6th block. So we did get a little bit of counting with Eagle Eye 621. And also, if you haven't seen any of these before, what you've done is you've put some fences underneath the frames here. And those are under all of them, but only needs to be under the one in which we're dropping an item on. And the way that this is going to work is we're going to grab these items right here. So 2 observers, a lever, a sticky piston, and a trapdoor of any kind. And then some of your dripstone to dupe. Let's get that into the inventory. And we're just going to put our observers facing this way and into each other. And then a sticky piston just like that with our lever like this, so that we can pull or push, depending on what you want, your observers into each other, which makes a much faster clock than just placing them. And the trapdoor goes at the bottom just like that. So you can see it is at the bottom of the block that the observer is pointing into, so that when this is pulled on, it does this nice little flapping action. And now, if I get in here, let's turn this back on. And let me go into survival mode. You can see we have 64 dripstone, but before I actually do that, let me just prove a point and drop through. And you can see there is nothing here. This is just a teleport block. So I can teleport back to here and then jump in and get back to my bed, which is in this room already. So there was nothing in that platform. And then if I were to turn this on and now go into survival mode, you can just hold down right click. If I can find the angle, there we go. And you can see that we have the dripstone is being placed on the trapdoor. And then when the trapdoor activates, it is dropping. And then when it gets put back down, I'm placing another one. So you can AFK here for a while if you want. You'll see I did misclick and put a couple on the ceiling, but that's not important for our example. And there we go. Let's turn this back off. Now, you will take a little bit of damage when you go through. You can see that I'm not wearing any armor of any kind. I am still in survival mode. Don't go through with half a heart or something. You won't take a lot, but you will take some. And that's because all of the dripstone that just landed on you. And you can see that we started out with 1 stack. There were 2 on the ceiling, which is why there's some missing. But we have now duplicated all of that dripstone, and we have doubled. And then you can very easily do your cycle, go back through, and come back and do it all over again. And every time you jump through, you will double the amount that you have. Just find that right angle. This actually works easier in survival than it does in creative mode. And you can see we have our angle, we're holding down right click, and we have all of our dripstone dropping through very easily. I'm not going to do a whole stack, but I will just do one more loop through, grab the extra, and then one more cycle and one more cycle until you have all of the dripstone you need, and you can go back to where you started. And this dripstone block is going to be very interesting in terms of being able to make lava sources with cauldrons and water sources, which is not as important for use in mob killing and for all kinds of other things. So you may want to get your hand on a whole bunch of this in a hurry. And that's really all there is to it. If you found this video interesting, I would appreciate a like. If you found it helpful, maybe even share it with one of your friends or your favorite Minecraft YouTubers, although they typically don't like duping, but who knows. And for more videos like this, do be sure to subscribe. Before I sign off, let me give a shout out to that technique that you see right above my head, which you have the update suppressed dripstone. I saw that in a methods video, which will be linked down below. As for the falling entities, it was the first thing that popped to mind when I saw that it drops down as a falling entity to see if I could get it to convert into an item at the portal. Thanks for stopping by.